The cruise industry doesn't want you to know what you're about to discover. Every year, millions of passengers board these floating cities, completely unaware of the secrets that could save them thousands of dollars and transform their entire vacation experience. What started as a simple investigation into cruise pricing turned into something much bigger when industry insiders began sharing what really happens behind those glossy brochures. If you're planning a cruise in 2025 or just curious about what these companies are hiding, hit that subscribe button right now because what you're about to learn could change everything. Seriously, the first trick alone saved one family $2,400 on their last cruise, and they almost missed it because nobody talks about this stuff. Let's start with something that happened just 3 months ago. A couple from Texas boarded a Royal Caribbean ship with $500 in onboard credit from their travel agent. Nice bonus, right? Wrong. That credit was about to expire worthless at the end of their cruise until they discovered something the cruise line definitely doesn't advertise. They walked into the casino, loaded that credit onto a slot machine, played exactly one spin, then cashed out the entire amount minus that single bet. The cashier handed them $495 in cold, hard cash. No questions asked. This isn't some loophole or glitch. It's completely legal, but cruise lines hate it because they'd rather you spend that credit on overpriced spa treatments or specialty dining. The key is you have to be in international waters when you do it. One Reddit user tried this in port and got shut down immediately. But once that ship crosses into international territory, that onboard credit becomes as good as cash through the casino cashier. Here's where it gets even crazier. A Norwegian cruise passenger discovered they could do this multiple times throughout their voyage. They'd load $100, cash out $95, then repeat the process later. By the end of their 7-day cruise, they'd converted their entire $700 onboard credit package into spendable money for their port excursions. The cruise line made $35 from the minimal bets, but the passenger saved hundreds compared to booking those same excursions through the ship. But that's just the beginning of what these companies don't want you to know. Remember when cruise lines used to advertise their best deals openly? Those days are gone. Now the real savings are buried in something called shoulder season, and most passengers have no idea it even exists. A Holland America passenger recently shared their booking experience from last December. Same ship, same itinerary, but because they sailed in early December instead of late December, they paid $1,200 less per person. That's $2,400 for a couple. Plus, they got free gratuities worth another $200, and a beverage package that normally costs $500 per person. The cruise lines know exactly what they're doing. They need to fill those ships during slower periods, but they don't advertise these deals prominently because they don't want summer travelers to wait. One travel agent revealed that September through early November and late January through early March consistently offer the deepest discounts, sometimes up to 70% off peak pricing. Add in the free perks they throw at these bookings, and you're looking at savings that can exceed $3,000 for a family of 4. Speaking of hidden savings, let's talk about the $7 water bottle scam that's happening on every single cruise ship right now. Walk up to any bar on board and ask for bottled water. They'll charge you between $4 and $7 for something that costs them pennies. But here's what they don't tell you. Every cruise ship has multiple locations with free filtered water available 24/7. Not just tap water from your cabin, but actual filtered, sometimes even flavored water stations. A Carnival passenger documented their entire cruise drinking nothing but free water from the gym's citrus-infused station and the buffet's water dispensers. They brought a collapsible silicone bottle that fit in their pocket when empty, filled it throughout the day, and never paid a cent for hydration. Over a 7-day cruise, that saved them approximately $150 compared to buying bottled water. Multiply that by a family of 4, and you're looking at $600 in savings from one simple trick. But water isn't the only free beverage cruise lines are hiding from you. Art auctions, trivia nights, past guest parties, shopping seminars, even certain meet and greets all serve complimentary alcohol. One couple on a Mediterranean cruise attended every art auction and trivia night on their ship. They never bought a single piece of art or won a single game, but they enjoyed free champagne and wine at every event. By their calculation, they consumed over $200 worth of free alcohol without purchasing a beverage package. The cruise lines know passengers are doing this, which is why they've started limiting the number of drinks at some events. But here's the thing. They can't eliminate these perks entirely because they need people to attend these revenue-generating activities. So the free drinks keep flowing. just more quietly than before. Now, if you're watching this and thinking these tricks sound too good to be true, drop a comment below with the word exposed if you've ever felt ripped off by hidden cruise fees. I'm curious how many of you have experienced this firsthand. Here's something that happened on a Norwegian escape just last month that perfectly illustrates how cruise lines manipulate their passengers. A family of 5 downloaded the Cruise Lines app while still at home, thinking they were just being prepared. What they didn't realize was that downloading it before boarding saved them from a carefully orchestrated trap. See, once you're on the ship, your phone automatically connects to the ship's network. Even with data roaming off, some phones still attempt background updates. One passenger got hit with a $400 charge just from their phone trying to sync emails in the background. But this family? They had everything set up before boarding. They could check their onboard account, make dinner reservations, even message each other ship-wide without spending a penny on internet packages. The cruise line pushes hard for you to buy their internet packages, starting at $20 per day per device. For a family of 5 on a 7-day cruise, that's $700 just to check Facebook. By using the app's free features instead, they stayed connected without the massive bill. Let me tell you about Sarah from Phoenix, who discovered something about cruise spa services that the spa staff definitely don't volunteer. She wanted a massage on her Princess cruise but nearly choked when she saw the price, $200 for 50 minutes. Then she noticed something odd. That same massage cost only $120 on port days. Same therapist, same treatment room, same everything except the price. She booked her massage while everyone else was exploring Cozumel. Not only did she save $80, but she also got complimentary access to the thermal suite for the entire day, normally a $50 charge. She spent her morning in the steam room and heated loungers while the ship was practically empty, had her discounted massage after lunch, then relaxed in the spa's private deck area with ocean views. Total savings, $130 for an even better experience than the crowded sea day sessions. The spa manager later admitted they slash prices on port days because most people are off the ship. They'd rather make something than nothing, but they certainly don't advertise these discounts. You have to specifically ask about port day pricing, and even then, some staff are trained to first try selling you the full price sea day appointments. But spas aren't the only ones playing pricing games. The photography department has their own secrets, and this one's going to make you angry. You know those photographers constantly snapping pictures around the ship? They're banking on you buying those photos at $20 to $30 each. What they don't tell you is that on the last night of the cruise, those same photos often drop to $10 each, or they'll offer package deals that essentially give you 50% off. One Reddit user documented their experience on Royal Caribbean. They had their picture taken at formal night at ports with characters everywhere. The photo staff kept pushing them to buy throughout the week at full price. They waited until the final night and got all 20 photos for $99 in a closeout deal. That same package would have cost them $400 if purchased individually throughout the cruise. We're halfway through these revelations, and if you're planning a cruise soon, you need to hear the rest. Make sure you're following along because the next secret involves getting free cabin upgrades worth thousands of dollars, and cruise lines are actively training their staff to prevent passengers from discovering it. Here's what happened to Mike and Jennifer on their Celebrity Summit cruise last spring. They casually mentioned at check-in that they were celebrating their anniversary. Nothing pushy, just conversational. The agent typed something into the computer, smiled, and handed them their key cards. They didn't think much of it until they reached their cabin. Instead of the interior room they'd booked, they were in a 2-bedroom family veranda suite. That's a $3,000 upgrade, completely free. But here's the crucial part. They mentioned it at check-in, not when booking. The check-in agents have discretionary upgrade power that reservation agents don't. They can see real-time availability and make instant decisions. One agent later revealed they're actually encouraged to upgrade passengers celebrating special occasions if suites are going to sail empty anyway. The cruise line would rather have happy passengers who might book suites in the future than empty premium cabins generating zero revenue. The same principle applies to dining. A honeymooning couple on Carnival mentioned their celebration to the main dining room host on the first night. They were immediately moved from a table for 8 to a private table for 2 with ocean views. Every night, they received priority seating, complimentary desserts, and even a bottle of champagne on their actual anniversary date. Total value of these perks? Approximately $300, all from a casual mention at the right time to the right person. Now let's talk about something that sounds small, but makes a massive difference. Tipping your cabin steward on day one. Not the automatic gratuities, but a personal tip. A passenger on Royal Caribbean tested this theory. He handed his steward $10 on embarkation day with a friendly note thanking them in advance. The results were immediate and lasted the entire cruise. Every single day, he returned to elaborate towel animals, extra chocolates on the pillows, ice bucket refilled twice daily without asking, and fresh flowers that mysteriously appeared from somewhere. His neighbors, who didn't tip until the end, got standard service. The steward even warned him about a cabin inspection one morning, giving him time to tidy up some items that technically weren't allowed. That $10 investment resulted in VIP treatment worth hundreds in enhanced service. But here's where passengers constantly shoot themselves in the foot. The Do Not Disturb sign seems harmless, right? Wrong. A Holland America passenger learned this the hard way. He kept his DND sign up most of the day because he liked afternoon naps. What he didn't realize was that his steward could only service rooms during specific hours. By blocking those hours, he missed daily turn-down service, fresh towels, and those little perks like chocolate and towel animals. His neighbor, who only used the DND sign during actual naps and removed it by noon, got full twice-daily service. The difference was stark. One room felt like a luxury hotel, the other like a forgotten motel. The stewards want to provide great service, but they can't enter a room with a DND sign. Time it wrong, and you're paying luxury prices for basic service. Speaking of basic service, let's expose what really happens at the buffet. You know that awkward moment when a crew member redirects you because you're going the wrong way? That's not just about organization. A Carnival first-timer discovered there's actually a psychology behind buffet flow. The cruise lines design the path to make you pass the cheapest items first. Breads, pastas, rice dishes. By the time you reach the expensive proteins, your plate's already half full. One experienced cruiser shared their strategy. They do a full walkthrough first, noting where everything is, then go backwards through the line, starting at the proteins. The staff can't say anything because you're still following the directional flow, just starting at a different point. This passenger estimated they ate $50 more in premium items per day just by gaming the buffet system. But the real savings come from avoiding the ship's excursions altogether. Here's a perfect example from Bermuda. The cruise line offered a trip to Crystal Caves for $149 per person. A family of 4 would pay $596 for transportation and cave entry. Instead, they took the public ferry for $5 each, then a bus for another $3.50 each. Cave entry was $22 per person. Total cost, $122 for the entire family, saving $474. The cruise line will scare you with stories about missing the ship if you book independently. But here's what they don't tell you. Reputable third-party tour operators offer return guarantees. If they're late getting you back, they'll pay to fly you to the next port. In 5 years of data I've reviewed, this has happened exactly twice out of thousands of tours. The fear-mongering is just to protect their 300% markup on excursions. Now, if you've made it this far, you're clearly serious about not getting ripped off on your next cruise. Comment insider below if you're ready to hear the most controversial secret yet, the one that cruise lines have actually sued to keep quiet. Remember that family on the 10-day Norwegian cruise who discovered the laundry secret? They were about to pay $3 per shirt and $4 per pants to have clothes cleaned. For a family of 4 halfway through a cruise, that's easily $150. But when they asked guest services about laundry options, the agent quietly mentioned something not advertised anywhere, the flat rate laundry bag special. For $20, they could stuff an entire bag with as much as would fit. No item counting, no individual pricing. They crammed 2 weeks' worth of clothes into that bag, getting $180 worth of laundry service for $20. The agent admitted this deal exists on most cruise lines for longer voyages, but they're instructed not to advertise it. You have to specifically ask about laundry specials or bag deals. But laundry savings pale in comparison to what happened to David on his celebrity cruise. 2 nights into his voyage, he couldn't sleep. The lounge below his cabin had music thumping until 2 a.m., and his interior cabin's walls might as well have been paper. He documented everything, videos of the noise, timestamps, even decibel readings from a phone app. When he presented this to guest services, they offered him $50 in onboard credit. He politely declined and asked to speak to a manager. Here's the key. He didn't get angry or demanding. He simply stated that the cabin was not as advertised and requested a room change for health reasons, as the lack of sleep was affecting his vacation. Within an hour, he was moved to an ocean view cabin on a quiet deck. That's a $700 upgrade, completely free. The cruise line would rather move you than risk a negative review or formal complaint that could cost them future bookings. The same principle applies to any cabin issue. Broken air conditioning, persistent smells, malfunctioning toilets. If you document it properly and approach it professionally, cruise lines will often upgrade you rather than fix the problem. One passenger even got moved to a suite because their balcony door wouldn't lock properly. The maintenance fix would have taken 2 days, so they gave him a $2,000 upgrade instead. Let's talk about pool chairs because this scam makes everyone's blood boil. You wake up at 6 a.m. to find every single pool chair already claimed with towels, yet the pool deck is empty. Those chairs stay reserved all day while their claimers are eating, shopping, or napping in their cabins. But here's what cruise lines don't advertise. Most have a 30 to 40-minute policy. If a chair is unattended for that long, staff can remove the items. A Reddit user on Royal Caribbean tested this. They watched a row of prime poolside loungers sit empty for an hour, towels in place, but no people. They reported it to pool staff, who checked their watch, made a note, and returned 40 minutes later to clear all the towels. The Reddit user and their family immediately claimed 4 chairs that had been reserved since dawn by people who never showed up. The staff even thanked them for reporting it, as they rely on passengers to point out violations. But here's the genius part. This passenger took photos of the empty chairs with timestamps. When the original towel placers returned hours later and complained, they had proof the chairs were abandoned. The pool staff sided with them completely. Turns out, serial chair hoarders are repeat offenders that staff already know about but can't act against without passenger complaints. Now, loyalty programs might seem like an obvious thing, but cruise lines have made them intentionally confusing. That first-time Norwegian cruiser who enrolled at check-in, she almost didn't because the desk agent acted like it was just another form to fill out. What they didn't explain was that even as a first-time cruiser, she'd get immediate perks. That free bottle of wine she received was worth $45. The priority theater seating saved her from standing in lines. The captain's mixer invitation gave her access to free premium drinks and appetizers. But here's the real kicker. By enrolling on day 1 instead of after the cruise, all her spending on that voyage counted toward her status level. She reached the second tier by the end of her cruise, qualifying for 10% off her next booking. The cruise line doesn't advertise this because they'd rather you book first, then join the loyalty program, missing out on that initial cruise credit towards status. The final trick I'm about to share saved one family $400 in Cozumel alone, and it's so simple you'll kick yourself for not thinking of it. They brought their own snorkel gear, that's it. 4 sets of masks and snorkels that fit in a single beach bag. The cruise line was charging $50 per person for a snorkel excursion that included gear rental and beach access. For a family of 4, that's $200 just to borrow equipment for 3 hours. Instead, they took a $12 taxi to a public beach, snorkeled for as long as they wanted with their own perfectly fitting gear, had lunch at a beachside restaurant for $60 total, and still saved $128. But here's what really matters. They've now used that gear on 6 cruises. That's $1,200 in rental fees avoided for a $100 one-time investment in quality equipment. The cruise line's shore excursion staff actually tried to tell them it was illegal to snorkel without a tour guide in Cozumel. Complete fabrication. They were banking on passengers not knowing local laws. This family had done their research and knew that all Cozumel beaches are public access. The only restriction was on certain protected reef areas, which they weren't visiting anyway. But let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture here. Every single one of these tricks represents something cruise lines actively work to hide from you. They've created an entire business model based on information asymmetry. They know the tricks you don't, and they profit from that gap. Take the drink package hustle, for example. They'll push you to buy a beverage package for $59 per person per day. For a couple on a 7-day cruise, that's $826. But what they don't tell you is that most people never drink enough to break even. The average cruise passenger would need to consume 8 alcoholic beverages every single day just to match the package price. Meanwhile, they're attending events with free drinks, getting complimentary champagne at art auctions, and not even drinking on port days when they're exploring. One couple tracked every drink they would have ordered on their cruise. Without the package, their total would have been $340. With all the free drinks from events and happy hour specials they found, their actual spend was $180. The drink package would have cost them $646 more than just paying as they went. Or consider the internet packages. They start at $20 per day per device, but they don't tell you about the hidden restrictions. Video streaming is blocked. Video calls are throttled. Social media uploads barely work. One tech-savvy passenger discovered the ship's internet was actually fast enough for everything, but they artificially slow it down unless you buy the premium package at $35 per day. He proved this by running speed tests at different package levels. The infrastructure is there. They just gatekeep it for profit. Here's something that happened just last month that shows how deep this goes. A group of travel agents were on a familiarization cruise with Princess. These are the people who sell cruises for a living. Even they were shocked to discover tricks the cruise line had hidden from them. One agent had been telling clients for years that specialty restaurant reservations couldn't be changed once booked. Turns out, you can change them unlimited times through the app, but the cruise line never updated their agent training materials because they profit from no-shows. Another agent discovered that the adults-only sanctuary area they'd been selling as a $40 day pass actually offers a $15 half-day option after 1 p.m. The cruise line doesn't advertise this because they'd rather sell full-day passes to people who only want a few hours of quiet time. These are the people whose job it is to know these things, and even they were in the dark. The photography racket goes even deeper than those last-night discounts I mentioned earlier. Here's what a former ship photographer revealed. Those free photo shoots they offer, they're trained to take 20 to 30 shots knowing you'll feel obligated to buy at least one. But the real scam is the photo package they push on day one. $199 for all your cruise photos sounds great until you realize they've now got incentive to photograph you constantly, creating artificial pressure to justify your purchase. One clever cruiser gamed this system perfectly. She bought the photo package, but then avoided photographers all week except for the shots she actually wanted. Formal night, port arrival, and dinner. She got exactly 6 high-quality photos she loved for $199, while others who let themselves be photographed constantly ended up with 50-plus mediocre shots of them eating breakfast or walking down hallways. Same price, vastly different value. But perhaps the most insidious trick is how cruise lines handle medical situations. They'll tell you their medical center is just like a hospital on land. What they don't mention is that maritime law means they're not held to the same standards as land-based facilities. One passenger's insurance claim was denied because the cruise ship medical center was classified as out-of-network, even though their insurance covered emergency care worldwide. The cruise line knew this, but still charged them $3,000 for basic treatment that would have cost $200 at an urgent care on land. If you're still watching, you're probably wondering why cruise lines get away with all this. The answer is simple. Maritime law is a maze of loopholes, and they exploit every single one. That casino trick I mentioned at the beginning, it only works because once you're in international waters, different gambling laws apply. The cruise lines structure their entire operation around these legal gray areas. Here's your viewer secret phrase, and this is important. Comment Wave Rider below if you've made it this far. I'm curious how many of you are actually absorbing all this information versus just having it on in the background. Because if you're really paying attention, you've just learned how to save potentially thousands on your next cruise. Let me leave you with one final story that encapsulates everything wrong with how cruise lines operate. Last month, a family of 6 booked what they thought was a great deal on a Carnival cruise. The advertised price was $599 per person. By the time they finished booking, with mandatory gratuities, port fees, taxes, and various other charges, their $594 cruise had ballooned to $5,847. That's a 63% increase from the advertised price. But here's the kicker. Using every trick I've shared today, they could have saved over $3,000 on that same cruise. Free upgrades from mentioning their anniversary, avoided drink packages by hitting free events, skipped the photo package scam, brought their own snorkel gear, booked independent excursions, and converted their onboard credit to cash. Same exact cruise experience, half the actual cost. The cruise industry generates $31 billion annually, and a significant portion of that comes from passengers who don't know these secrets. They're counting on your ignorance. They train their staff to maintain it. They structure their pricing to exploit it. But now you know better. You've got 16 different ways to fight back against their information monopoly. From that casino credit conversion that can save you hundreds to the pool chair policy that gets you prime loungers, from the spa discounts that slash prices by 40% to the loyalty program perks that kick in immediately. The question is, what are you going to do with this information? Are you going to let them continue their games, or are you going to use these insider secrets to level the playing field? If this video opened your eyes to how cruise lines really operate, hit that subscribe button right now. I'm exposing more travel industry secrets every week, and trust me, what the airlines are hiding makes cruise lines look honest by comparison. Don't miss the next revelation that could save you thousands. Share this video with anyone planning a cruise. They deserve to know what they're really up against. And remember, the cruise lines are watching these videos too, already working on ways to close these loopholes. The sooner you book your cruise and use these tricks, the more likely you are to benefit before they change the rules again. This is just the beginning. The travel industry is full of secrets they don't want you to know, and I'm here to expose every single one. Subscribe now, and I'll see you in the next video, where we dive into the dark truth about resort fees that hotels pray you never discover.